falling. That sure didn't come from the sky.
Random fun quotes from Donald Trump's press conference. When asked about fake news, he said, here's the thing. Okay, I understand what you're right about that, except this. See, I know when I should get good and when I should get bad. Okay, and sometimes they'll say, wow, that's going to be a great story, and I'll get killed. I know what's good and bad. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I rest my case. Child.
He used the term untruthful.
Oh, yeah.
Well, do you have more randoms? Because I have randoms if you want.
I got another one here. On uranium. You know what uranium is, right? Yeah, I do. I'm wondering if you do. He says, it's the thing called nuclear weapons.
My favorite quote.
No, it's not. No, that's not how it works. Okay, but it gets better. It's a thing called nuclear weapons and other things. He's a child! Okay, and he continues. Like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things. But by the way, finally, that last part is true. Lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things, and yes, sometimes they are used in nuclear weapons.
It's this thing called nuclear weapons.
You know what uranium is, right? It's this thing called nuclear weapons. No, it's not!
Please, I hope that the entry for uranium on Wikipedia has been updated to say, it's like nuclear weapons.
And to be fair, and other things.
Can we jump to graphic 25? We'll just briefly do 25 through 26B, just because these are fun. He says, I don't mind bad stories. I can handle a bad story better than anybody, as long as it's true and over a course of time. I'll make mistakes, and you'll write badly, and I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay when it is fake, which sounds less like the President of the United States and a little bit more like Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, trying to read his own writing. Also asked about would he respond to military provocations by Russia. If there was some sort of conflict, he said this. And this isn't silly, this is a little bit scary. I'm not going to tell you anything about what I'm going to do. I'm not going to talk about military stuff. Mosul is very, very difficult. You know why? I don't talk about military and certain other things. You were going to be surprised to hear that, by the way. My whole campaign I said that. I don't have to tell you.
Okay.
That's the ravings of a crazy person.
So, all throughout his campaign,
although he's also right,
he said, I have a secret strategy for ISIS. The minute I'm in there, it's going to be so good, they're going to be gone, and your head's going to spin. So now he's in office, so people are saying, all right, great, hit us with the surprise you got. Okay, yay, surprise! Wait, ISIS is still here, and Mosul's still a mess, so what's your strategy now? Still not going to tell you. I could, because I know it, but I'm not going to tell you. Come on, right-wingers, you know he's stupid, too. You know it. It's like for 6-7 years, the right-wingers pretended that George Bush wasn't as dumb as he clearly is.
Yeah,
and then
we did figure it out.
And then the bottom fell out. And by the time he left, his popularity rating was in the 20s, because he couldn't respond to anything. Like a kid, he came in there and broke somebody else's Lego set. That was Iraq. Okay, and then he's like, I don't know how to fix it. I just break them. I don't fix them, right? And then Hurricane Katrina and all this stuff, and so now, and then you got Donald Trump thing is very similar, coming back saying things like, you'll write badly, but I'm goodly. He didn't say that last part, but that's coming. Podcast The Young Turks anytime you want. TYTnetwork.com/join. I think it's weird. No, it's not weird. In fact, you'll think, I'm like a smart person. Do it now. TYTnetwork.com/join.
Fiat 500X crossover. Available all-wheel drive and room for 5. He's totally at home in the snow.
Trump was also asked during his press conference if he would include the Congressional Black Caucus in future policy discussions, and that went about as well as you might expect it would.
include the CBC, Mr. President, in your conversations with your urban agenda, your inner city agenda, as well as?
Am I going to include?
Are you going to include the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional?
Well, I
Hispanic
would.
Caucus,
I tell you what. Do you want to set up the meeting? Do you want to set up the meeting?
No.
Are they friends of
I'm
yours?
just a reporter.
No, set up the
I
meeting.
know some of them, but I'm sure.
Let's go set up a meeting. I would love to meet with the Black Caucus. I think it's great, the Congressional Black Caucus. I think it's great.
Oh, are they friends of yours? Are they friends of yours? Okay, so let's break this down. 3 components to this debacle. This was the worst answer, and it's a disqualifying answer, and I'll tell you why. When she says CBC, he obviously has no idea what she's talking about. I'm going to give him a total pardon on that. I already know he's a 4th grader, and sorry to all the 4th graders out there because I just insulted you. And so he doesn't know. Like, a normal president should know that the CBC is Congressional Black Caucus, but it's not important. I don't care. Okay, no problem. Full pardon. Okay. Second issue is when he says, "Can you reach out to them?" Why would she do that? She's a reporter. You know that you're the president. If you want to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus, pick up the phone. Okay, that is the easiest thing in the world. And then, are they friends of yours? Why would they be friends of hers? She's a reporter. She's not in Congress.
Wait.
She's not in government. You're in government.
But Jank, why would they be friends of hers? You know why he thinks.
Of course I know why. Of course I do. Theoretically,
Because she's a woman.
The president should be closer to any particular caucus than any random reporter. But he doesn't think that way. And so, but the disqualifying part is not his,
Racism.
His nonchalant racism, right? And every time that slight credit here, because this is the first time he's brought up blacks in any context where he hasn't talked about the inner city and what a hellhole it is. Okay, so and remember the famous comment during one of his rallies, "Hey, there's my African American." And I thought it was a friend of his, like, "Hey, my African American friend," and he forgot to say friend. No, he never met the guy.
Maybe he's a friend of hers.
Okay. So, no, but the subtle or not so subtle racism, okay, no, we already knew that about Trump, and they voted for him anyway. That wasn't the bug, that was a feature. So the disqualifying part, guys, is you're the guy who's president of the United States and doesn't know how government works. Doesn't know that a reporter doesn't set up meetings with congressional caucuses for you. That you're the president, your chief of staff sets that up. That it's actually a very normal part of being the president is that you meet with congressional members and then sometimes groups of congressional members, like caucuses, like the Congressional Black Caucus. To ask a reporter to set that meeting up is so ignorant. That means you don't know anything about government. You don't know anything about it. And you're the head of that government. Now, if you're a Republican out there, for God's sake, you know that that's the most ignorant thing you've ever heard. If you don't know it, then I got no hope in you anyway. You're going to support anyone. I mean, the guy is borderline, not adult. He's not an adult. I don't know what he's borderline something. Okay, and so
We can't see past it. There's a wall.
So you know how unbelievably unprepared he is. And if you're okay with a president who doesn't know the first thing about the American government, okay, then there's something wrong with you. And for the rest of you guys, you can be happy with his policies and jubilant about your tax cuts, but you know that this guy's a grade A fool.
I think you're being way too kind to him there. The fact that he's not prepared, he's met with the Republicans, he's met with leaders of the, Silicon Valley. He knows how to set up meetings. I think he was trying to demonstrate there. If they want to talk to me, they can try. Maybe you can set it up. I will do jack shit to set up a meeting with them. I will do nothing. I don't care at all about them. I think that's what was screaming from his orange face hole.
Yeah.
No, by the way, it's
he
also
doesn't know how to set up that meeting. I'm serious. He thinks he could set it up.
He didn't need to, because we also have this tweet from the CBC. Hi, real Donald Trump. We're the CBC. We sent you a letter on January 19th, but you never wrote us back. Sad. And then they linked to the letter. They tried to talk to him. They didn't even need a reporter to set it up.
John, he doesn't know that reporters don't set up meetings like that.
He knows how Twitter works, though.
He does, but look, all his life, that's what he does. He never had a real job, never had a boss. Nobody's ever said no to him. goes into his office and people come in and he's like, okay, all right, you want to do that deal? Let's do a deal, okay? Hey, you know that guy? All right, let's do a deal with that guy, okay? Who's the guy in front of me? That's all I need to know. And he doesn't read. And they say that now the briefings have to be one page with lots of graphs and maps. How can you have lots of graphs and maps on one page?
And no perspectives that don't agree with each other. Only present one side because he gets confused and frustrated if there is dissenting information.
We have a child in the White House with his, and he's got the nukes. God help us all. Support independent media and get the whole Young Turks 2-hour show and other network shows all ad-free. TYTnetwork.com/join. Come join us today. So during Donald Trump's press conference, he mentioned the Russian story. Of course, he was asked about it. Hey, there were people that are connected to you, both in the campaign and business interests that you might have, that were apparently talking to Russian intelligence agents. So how do you feel about that? So, and how do you respond to it? Once he got past the avalanche of fake news that he cried out, even though he acknowledges, yes, it was in the New York Times, and he calls it discredited, as you'll see in a second, but it was never discredited. He just made that part up. Let me read you one of his quotes, and then I'll show you what he said about one of the individuals, and then I'll show you the reality, okay? So he said, how many times do I have to answer this question? Russia is a ruse. I have nothing to do with Russia. I haven't made a phone call to Russia in years. I don't speak to people in Russia. Not that I wouldn't. I just have nobody to speak to. I have nothing to do with Russia. To the best of my knowledge, no person that I deal with does. Now, as John has pointed out during our coverage of this press conference, he just spoke to Putin, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. So you haven't spoken to anybody in Russia in years. Okay, we'll chalk it up to, again, he's a child and he just forgot that, or doesn't count that. He means that I didn't speak to anybody in Russia about illicit activities. Right? But at the end, he said, to the best of my knowledge, so by the way, that's a lawyerly talk, even this child knew to put that in there, because he has to be really careful about this. To the best of my knowledge, no person that I deal with does. Now, but wait a minute, there was 4 people mentioned in that New York Times story, Manafort, Flynn, and one other business and political friend that he has that I think might be very important to this whole proceedings, and then Roger Stone. Now, Roger Stone, he's known for a long time, as you're about to see in a second. But listen to him deny that not only did these people not talk to Russia, although how would he know that, but that he doesn't even know them. Wait a minute, you don't know Roger Stone? Okay, first let's give you Donald Trump's answer.
The Daily New York Times wrote a big, long front page story yesterday. And it was very much discredited, as you know. It's a joke. And the people mentioned the story. I noticed they were on television today saying they never even spoke to Russia. They weren't even a part, really. I mean, there was such a minor part. I hadn't spoken to them. I think the one person, I don't think I've ever spoken to him. I don't think I've ever met him. And he actually said he was a very low-level member of, I think, a committee for a short period of time. I don't think I ever met him. Now, it's possible that I walked into a room and he was sitting there, but I don't think I ever met him. I didn't talk to him ever. And he thought it was a joke.
So the way that he speaks is almost impossible to determine what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah.
So could he be talking about somebody else other than Roger Stone? I suppose that's possible. To the people that are on TV today. Okay. Who's on TV today talking about this? So if he's referring to Roger Stone, that is the most brazen lie I've ever seen, because Roger Stone has been integral in his rise. In fact, we have footage of one of our reporters, Amiki Kans, during the inauguration. She went to one of the balls, and she recorded Roger Stone talking about how well he knows Donald Trump. Listen to the whole story.
How'd you meet Donald Trump for the first time?
Roy Cohn.
Really, you did?
Roy was his lawyer. I was sent to New York to work on the Reagan campaign. They gave me this card file of the Reagan's friends. There's a card in there for Roy. I was, 25 years old. I just called him up. Said I wanted to come see you. And he said, I said I needed to organize a finance committee for Reagan. He said, you need Fred Trump. You need Fred and his son Donald. They're perfect for this. So he set me up with Donald. We hit it off, and that was it.
How old was Donald then?
30, maybe? I don't know, that now. This would have been 1979.
Did you feel like he was going somewhere? Yeah. Were you? Is it true what people say you convinced him to run for president?
Yes.
You convinced Donald Trump to run for
I
president?
started in 1988.
That is true.
You were there?
I've been trying to do this. I've been trying to get him to run for a long time. Tried to get him run in 88, tried to get him run in 2000, tried to get him run in 2012. He could have beaten Romney, although Romney had a long head start.
So this is very interesting because of the 4 people that had contact with Russia, according to the New York Times, one of them is Mike Flynn. He can't possibly say he doesn't know Mike Flynn. He was his national security advisor. The other was Manafort. He can't possibly say he doesn't know Manafort. That was his campaign manager. There's 2 left, Carter Page and Roger Stone. So it's unclear to me from his press conference which of those 2 he was referring to. If he's talking about Carter Page, well, people should investigate and then figure that out. But a reporter should ask him, wait, did you mean Roger Stone? Because if he meant Roger Stone, he's an even bigger liar than we realize. Because there's no question that he knows Roger Stone really, really well, as Roger Stone just showed you in a recording from the inauguration. And by the way, it's not, we didn't break that story. We did because it was an interesting tape, and I'm glad we got it on tape. But that's their connections that go back decades is very well known. If he's denying that he knows Roger Stone, wow, that's amazing. That's almost like saying, my wife, I've never met my wife. I don't know what you're talking
It's certainly
about.
a lie. It's also understandable. If I knew him, I'd deny it.
Well, that's certainly true, too. But that'll give us a sense of his pathology.
Mm-hmm.
If he says he's never met Roger Stone, maybe he was in a room with him once.
Yeah.
That goes to show there isn't anything he wouldn't lie about. And I'm not sure he understands the difference between a lie and the truth.
And I don't think he understands the potential consequences. I mean, these investigations are still ongoing. The FBI, probably the CIA, the NSA are doing these investigations. They're looking at the transcripts. They're talking to people, tracking down information. And every day, he goes out and representatives of his administration go out and they say things that are easily verifiable. And it can be shown that he's lying. And you're just helping to build the case on the weird connection between your administration and Russia. And he's doing it in every one of these press conferences.
Just real quick question from anyone who, gets in contact with Trump, and one of our reporters do, we'll certainly ask him. A very benign question. Do you know Roger Stone? If he says he doesn't know Roger Stone, who's now connected to apparently these Russian intelligence agents, according to the New York Times, and Stone denies that, but they've got good evidence of it. If he says he doesn't know Roger Stone, that's amazing and gives you a sense of the pathology. You can help hire investigative reporters that'll chase down stories no one else will. Be the media. TYTnetwork.com/go.
Trump began his press conference today, his first solo press conference in some time, by responding to the perceived inconsistency that he's demonstrated by attacking the leaks regarding his administration's cozy relationship with Russian intelligence operatives, while at the same time calling it fake news. An interesting thing he's doing there. Let's see how he explains that.
Are these? Is it fake news or are these real news?
Well, the leaks are real. You're the one that wrote about them and reported them. I mean, the leaks are real. You know what they said. You saw it. And the leaks are absolutely real. The news is fake because so much of the news is fake. I mean, I watch CNN. It's so much anger and hatred and just the hatred. I don't watch it anymore because it's very good. He's saying, no, it's okay, Jim. It's okay, Jim. You'll have your chance. But I watch others, too. You're not the only one, so don't feel bad.
It's just a casual insulting, like, you have your chance. So they reported on the New York Times report. They cover it. It's just anger and hatred. Maybe he feels that watching the coverage.
No, so that's interesting. But let me be clear about what I criticize Trump on and not. Him attacking the press, I think that's par for the course. I actually think it's probably pretty good politics. And if I was in his position, I would do it too. Now, the question is, how do you do it? So I would point out, hey, listen, you guys you work for giant multinational corporations, and there's certain pressures that come along with that. Now, hopefully have a somewhat intelligent explanation of why their perspective is different than one that is simply objective. Okay. Now, the way Trump does it is, no, the leaks are real. The leaks are real. The leaks are real because you reported on it, but the news is fake.
Because so much of it is fake.
No, but wait a minute. You just said they reported on it and that it's real. So how could they report on it, which you just acknowledged is real, be fake? Now, come on. No. Like, if you're a Trump supporter and you just want to support him because you hate the establishment, okay, I guess I understand that. Or you're a right-winger and you like the hatred thing he's going for, or you like corny capitalism, whatever. Okay, but don't pretend he's smart. Because he's not. He's an absolute moron. Because that doesn't make any goddamn sense at all. The leaks are real, and the way you reported on it is real. That's why you're fake. No, he's stupid. He has low IQ. He's a fucking child.
He is a child, but, I mean, he's certainly going to get away with it. He can now apply fake news to anything he wants, and he's been doing it on a daily basis. Most of his tweets now are about fake news, because fake news was a real issue. It had an effect. It exists on both sides. There's fake news that's meant to appeal to liberals and meant to appeal to conservatives. It changes from time to time, the ratio. But they immediately, on the right, began attacking it, claiming that anything they don't like is fake news. Some on the left felt like fake news was being used as an excuse for Hillary Clinton, or they just like attacking the media so much that they started using it to apply it to everything. And now the water has been so muddied that fake news is whatever the hell you want it to be. Despite the fact that it has an actual definition, we can't apply that definition anymore because so many people gleefully used it for whatever the hell they want.
And by the way, that is not by accident. That is not Trump doing it. Trump's a low-level troll. No, it's the guys like Steve Bannon who said, hey, go muddy the waters. Just call everything fake news, so then they won't be able to tell when we actually do real fake news. Yeah, real fake news. How do you like that? So, but that's what they used to help Trump on Facebook, and they had a strategy around it, and they tried to manipulate people, gave them fake news. So then when you say, hey, that's a bad phenomenon, they just muddy the waters until nobody can tell the difference anymore. Because if the truth and lies are competing, lies want a playing field where you can't tell which one is which. Yeah. And so that's exactly what they. Now you think, well, that proves that Trump is smart because that's actually an interesting political strategy. No, he's like a guy on Twitter who's like, oh yeah, you're fake. Did I get him, Stevie? Yeah, Bannon, I got him right. He's fake. He's fake. You're real, but fake. No, you didn't get him. Yeah. You have no nuance whatsoever. You lack the ability to form logical, rational thoughts. Yeah. So you're like a fucking child that they send out there, and Steve Bannon tells them, okay, now call everything fake news and attack the media. That'll play well with our base and independence, which is actually somewhat true. And then he goes out there and he's like, yeah, you're real and fake. Fucking child.
But he's enjoying it, which he'll make clear soon. Now, let's go into this next clip where he's going to continue on the attack against CNN specifically, and as always, regardless of what the actual policy being discussed or news being discussed is, he is going to make it about ratings.
If I may follow up on some of the questions that have taken place so far here, sir, and I don't know which microphone to hold here. I've got three microphones.
You have other people, and your ratings aren't as good as some of the other people that are
They're pretty good right now, actually, Mr. President. But you said that the leaks are real, but the news is fake. I guess I don't understand. It seems that there's a disconnect there. If the information coming from those leaks is real, then how can the stories be fake?
Reporting is fake.
And if I may ask, I just want to ask.
Jim, you know what it is? Here's the thing. The public isn't, they read newspapers, they see television, they watch. They don't know if it's true or false because they're not involved. I'm involved. I've been involved with this stuff all my life. But I'm involved. So I know when you're telling the truth or when you're not. I just see many, many untruthful things. And I'll tell you what else I see. I see tone. The word tone. The tone is such hatred. I'm really not a bad person, by the way. No, but the tone is such. I do get good ratings, you have to admit that. And I have to say, Fox and Friends in the morning, they're very honorable people. They're very, not because they're good, because they hit me also when I do something wrong, but they have the most honest morning show. Well, you look at your show that goes on at 10 o'clock in the evening. You just take a look at that show. That is a constant hit. The panel is almost always exclusive anti-Trump. The good news is he doesn't have good ratings. Now, I will say this. I watch it. I see it. I'm amazed by it. And I just think you'd be a lot better off. I honestly do. The public gets it, you know. Look, when I go to rallies, they turn around, they start screaming at CNN. They want to throw their placards at CNN. You know, the press, the public doesn't believe you people anymore. Now, maybe I had something to do with that. I don't know. As an example, your CNN, I mean, it's story after story after story is bad. I won. And the other thing, chaos. There's zero chaos. We are running, this is a fine-tuned machine. I would be your biggest fan in the world if you treated me right. Now, I sort of understand there's a certain bias, maybe by Jeff or somebody, you know, for whatever reason.
Okay, so again, I want to be fair here because that's our whole job. So him attacking the press and saying that your tone is wrong and
I won.
Yeah, well, no, that's not a fair. That's not a fair point.
You can't say bad news. I won.
Yeah. No, but him trying to get the press to be, quote-unquote, more balanced and hence put more of his henchmen on TV is an old Republican trick. So it's not like Trump invented that, and that part is not new. He just does it with such little deft that he's just bumbling around as he does it. He does it inartfully, but it works enough because the public, it gets through. But, so that part I'm defending him on. But when he says, I'm not a bad person, what a weird thing to say in the middle of that answer.
Ratings.
And I get good ratings. You're the president. Stop worrying about the goddamn ratings. North Korea just launched ballistic missiles.
Yeah.
The Russians have spy ships 30 miles off the coast. Okay? Stop worrying about the goddamn ratings. That's because he's a shiny object. Look at me, Daddy. Look at me. God damn it. Concentrate.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I mean, people don't trust you anymore. Maybe I had something to do with it. I don't know. I've never thought about it or had meetings with Steve Bannon about it. And the people, like, I know some people on the right love this. They love that his strategy is to take down the media, to destroy any faith in the media or the ability to report on facts as facts. And a lot on the right wing love this, and I understand why. I think it's incredibly short-sighted because he has shown if even a right-wing outlet turns on him on a particular issue, he will throw you under the bus, you fools. He's attacking us, he will attack you. And some even on the left who get a lot of views attacking the media, we critique the media. There's a lot of reasons to critique the media. But to go along with the destruction of the public's faith in a media at all harms you too. Not even just in the future. I'm talking about right now. If people don't feel like there's anything objective to the news, that it's just how do I feel about what they're reporting on, that destroys your credibility too, and you need to wise up to that because the war is being waged right in front of our eyes on a daily basis.
So the difference between the left-wing critique and the right-wing critique of the media is the right wing wants to tear the media down and replace it with its propaganda. The left wing is critiquing the media so that it can get better. We want to make you better, not worse.
I don't think all do. I think some just like critiquing it because they know people like that.
Yeah,
I think there's no goal. It's setting fire. It's about sending a message, okay? It's not about construction, it's about destruction. But
look, yeah, but at the same time, John, let's not do both sides do it, right? So yes, there's some on the left who do that, but for the right, it is an organized attack on the media that has gone on for decades to destroy anyone who brings you facts. So on the left, there's a very legitimate critique of the media and their perspective and how it is colored in a way that they do not acknowledge. Now, some people take that too far, I understand that, but overall, there's a reason why a lot of people on the left and right are distrustful of the media, but it isn't because everything they write is fake, and you shouldn't trust anything that's actually news.
Yeah.
We've got to rebuild the media in a way where it is honest, serves the audience first rather than other interests, so that people can go back to trusting the media, because we need the news, we need facts. Otherwise, how do we make decisions in a democracy? Are you sick of the mainstream media? Then I got good news for you. We're going to hire some investigative reporters, and we're going to go house. We're actually going to investigate what's happening in this country and stand up for you guys. Help us do it. Go to tytnetwork.com/go. If everybody watching this video just gives a little bit of money, we'd have plenty to hire those investigative teams and unleash them on the country.
Another white supremacist and potential terrorist was thankfully stopped and arrested this week by the FBI before he was capable of carrying out an anti-Semitic mass shooting at a South Carolina synagogue. Law enforcement officials on Wednesday apprehended a 29-year-old man who bought a gun from an undercover FBI agent that he allegedly planned to use in an attack against the Temple Emmanuel Conservative Synagogue in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Agents arrested him after spotting him holding a bag in the parking lot of the Hampton Inn in Myrtle Beach. They found him in possession of a handgun and ammo sold to him by the agent, as well as a marijuana cigarette and a cell phone. According to the FBI, the suspect telegraphed his intentions to attack the synagogue during a series of anti-Semitic Facebook posts in which he expressed his desire to carry out a massacre against it in, quote, the spirit of Dylan Roof. In January, he told the undercover FBI agent that he wanted to attack a synagogue, but worried that he didn't have the proper training to handle it as efficiently as Roof did. And here are a couple of quotes directly from the guy who we're not identifying. I got the heart to do that shit, but I don't have the good training. If I could do something on a fucking big scale and right on the fucking building or whatever, in the spirit of Dylan Roof, I seen what Dylan Roof did, and in my heart, I reckon I got a little bit of hatred, and I want to do that shit. Like, I got desire, not for nobody else, it just, I want something where I can say, I fucking did that, me personally. Thankfully, he was stopped.
So this goes to the heart of a couple of things that we've been talking about. One is, a lot of these mass shooters and terrorists, it's about the glory.
Yeah,
Whether,
that's why we're not identifying it.
Yeah, whether it's a Muslim fundamentalist, it's a white supremacist, it's just a right-winger who kills cops, all of it is about taking credit, or just a mass shooter. Like, the famous case of it, of course, is the Sandy Hook shooting, where the guy who did it had been collecting clippings of the other shooters, and he thought they were famous, and he wanted to be famous, and so this guy's saying, I just want the credit, I want to be able to say, I did that, I did the hatred, I did the murders. And the second thing that it goes towards is, we said all the way back when Donald Trump started talking about, attacking Mexican immigrants and Muslims, and we said it's a slippery slope. And then once you start, at the end, when you open up that Pandora's box, there's, right before you hit hope, which is at the bottom of Pandora's box, what you'll hit is anti-Semitism. Yeah. Because that's near the bottom of the barrel here in America. And once you, not because it's any worse than anti-Muslim or anti-Mexican or the racist stuff that they put forward. Nobody's better than anyone. We're all equal, and we should all protect each other equally. But once you've gotten there, which is so luckily forbidden in America, it was considered so outrageous, which is for good reason because of the history of what happened. Once you've gotten there, that means you've got no bounds. Yeah. And so now Trump is not the one who did this. So let's just be very clear about what we're saying. But for several days in a row now, he barely says the word anti-Semitism. He certainly doesn't decry it. He says, I'm not an anti-Semite. Finally, he said the word anti-Semite, but he said, I am the least anti-Semitic person you'll ever meet, right? But he didn't say, oh, there's something wrong with anti-Semitism, we should fight back against that. He didn't say any of that. And he said instead, 2 days ago or yesterday, well, when asked about this question of anti-Semitism, well, I got a big electoral college victory, and there was tremendous enthusiasm for me. So that meaning, like, hey, people are enthusiastic about me, and I'm not going to try to take down their spirits. And so now here we are at the bottom of the barrel. Yeah. And so it bodes very poorly, not only for Jewish Americans, but for everyone. Because that means there's no bounds left.
Yeah, obviously great job by the FBI. We've covered, there's two other things I want to talk about on this. One, we've covered multiple domestic terror attacks that have been stopped by the FBI, almost universally by white nationalists or white supremacists, whatever you want to call them, sovereign citizens. And thankfully the FBI does a good job of shutting those down, so they deserve a lot of credit for it. But we don't cover all of them because we can't, because there are too many. But this should be a reminder that when Trump shut down the Countering Violent Extremism program, or at least diverted it from worrying about all types of terrorism to just radical Islamic terrorism, and then they put out their list of extremist attacks that aren't covered enough by the media and left out all of the attacks by anyone who's white, any conservatives. These things go on. Thankfully, they're being stopped. And the CVE, which helped to use social media and networks and things like that to try to stop these attacks before they happen, this was stopped because someone in the FBI noticed that he was looking for a gun and started communicating with him. If they're diverting resources away from that sort of investigation, this could have been stopped. Thankfully, Trump wasn't in charge long enough to take away the resources that allowed this attack to be stopped. But this could have very easily ended with multiple people dying at that particular synagogue in Myrtle Beach. And we know what the approach of the administration is. They don't want the FBI investigating this sort of terrorism. And so if in 6 months or if in a year or in 4 years a terrible shooting happens, as has happened numerous times in American history at synagogues, it could have theoretically been stopped. We'll never know. But it could have theoretically been stopped if the approach was a bit different.
I mean, look, he took so long to denounce David Duke. And so David Duke, thankfully, was for a long time in the dustbin of history and a weird anti-Semitic kook. And you think, oh, well, former Grand Wizard of the KKK, mainly racist. So, sure, he's racist. But he was on this show, and I couldn't believe how obsessed he was with Jews. So, like, racism was like tiny percentage. Everything was the Jews did this and the Jews did that. And then David Duke started to get more and more credibility. More people were covering him like he was a voice that needed to be listened to or debated with. And so now all of a sudden it's growing and growing. And it's not like this is the first time there's been anti-Semitic attacks or planned attacks. Of course that's happened throughout American history. And recently there was the attack on the Jewish Community Center in Kansas. There was the attack on the Jewish Museum in Washington. And so this has been ongoing. So it's not like Trump invented this stuff or the era of Trump is the only time that it's ever happened. But what we got to do is make sure that it is not tacitly encouraged so that there is less of it, not more of it. And the people who track this stuff are saying, there's more of it. So let's be really, really careful. And John is absolutely right about how we treat different kinds of terrorism. Look at what Trump chooses to focus on. If it's a Muslim terrorist attack, Muslims are Muslims, we've got to keep them out, right?
Even if it's an attempted stabbing where no one gets injured except for the person who tries to do the stabbing, that needs to be tweeted about, but not when a mosque is shot up.
Not when they are planning to attack a synagogue. Not when a mosque is shot up in Quebec. Doesn't mention at all those people. Can you imagine if a Muslim guy went into a church and massacred Christians at that church? Trump would still be talking about it. They'd be talking about it nonstop, and it's not just Trump. Fox News will not stop talking about it.
Unless, to be fair, it's a black church, because that already happened. We had that. That's what Dylan Roof did, is he shot up Christians. But because they're black Christians, they don't really care. Because then you'd have to confront white terrorism, and that's not something they want to do.
And what do we mean by they don't care? What do they focus on? What do they say is an important issue? What do they direct policy towards? So what's the first thing Trump does? Oh, I got to ban people from Muslim majority countries. By the way, those 7 countries have done 0 fatal attacks in America. 0. But no, it's the Muslims. How about the white supremacists who are attacking Jews and Muslims and all, and Sikhs, by the way, and all these other people? What are you going to do about them? Nothing. I won't even mention them.
Yeah. Well, we didn't even get to one of them. I'm not going to read all the graphics, but last week a Georgia man was jailed after he went to the hospital because he got ricin on his hand that he was experimenting with. This is a guy whose Facebook information links him to the Georgia Church of Creativity, which is a group that champions what it considers the superior creativity of the white race.
Well, that was pretty creative to get ricin all over.
It is. So he's got pictures with a logo and the slogan "Mobilize Nature's Finest," and the page is thick with memes supporting the Ku Klux Klan and the Aryan Brotherhood and mocking Jews and blacks. So he was experimenting with ricin, a toxic substance which has been used in multiple terrorist attacks around the world. Thankfully, the only person he's harmed so far is himself, because he's a jackass, and he is being jailed. But that's another terrorist, white conservative, white nationalist, whatever term you want to use, who thankfully was stopped before he was able to commit a lethal terror attack.
So we're not saying that, hey, watch out for the white people, because we're not as stupid as they are. We're saying watch out for fundamentalists of any ilk who might commit violence. Let's be rational about how we do law enforcement so that we can protect everybody, instead of doing demagoguery that both doesn't protect us and actually does more harm and is counterproductive because it causes other people to want to do vigilante, in their mind, justice.
Yeah.
So now, to do justice to this story, the guy says that that nature leads to the right results. Well, that's the one thing I could agree with him on, because that was evolution at work right there. Let's put some watchers on the wall, investigative journalists, to run down the Trump administration and the establishment. You can make that happen. TYTnetwork.com/go.
Trump got a chance today at his press conference to respond to a laughable response yesterday during his press conference when asked about rising anti-Semitism and the belief that many people have that his campaign has not only been silent on anti-Semitism, but has also played with it. We've seen his tweets, including like the Star of David and things like that, bringing on Steve Bannon, a known anti-Semite. So he responded to that. We did a video on it yesterday. It was ridiculous, but he got a second chance today. Let's see if he can be a little bit more sensitive to the concerns of people who are worried about anti-Semitism in this response to a journalist from Ami magazine.
What we are concerned about, and what we haven't really heard being addressed, is an uptick in anti-Semitism and how the government is planning to take care of it. There's been a report out that 48 bomb threats have been made against Jewish centers all across the country in the last couple of weeks. There are people who are committing anti-Semitic acts or threatening to.
You see, he said he was going to ask a very simple, easy question. And it's not. It's not a simple question, not a fair question. Okay, sit down. I understand the rest of your question. So here's the story, folks. Number one, I am the least Semitic person that you've ever seen in your entire life. Number two, racism. The least racist person. In fact, we did very well relative to other people running as a Republican. Quiet. See, he lied about he was going to get up and ask a very straight, simple question. So, so welcome to the world of the media. But let me just tell you something, that I hate the charge. I find it repulsive. I hate even the question, because people that know me, and you heard the Prime Minister, you heard Netanyahu yesterday. Did you hear him, Bibi? He said, I've known Donald Trump for a long time. And then he said, forget it. So you should take that instead of having to get up and ask a very insulting question like that.
Oh my God, it's insane. Okay, so first of all, that's Jake Perks who's asking the question. I interviewed him during the Republican National Convention. Great guy. And you should check out his reporting, and there's a wonderful question. And there is no person named Netanyahu. It's Benjamin Netanyahu, not Netanyahu. Oh my God, Jesus Christ, what a child. Okay, you just looked at the Israeli Prime Minister. Learn his name. Okay, and who says?
Ask Joe Trudeau. He can tell you.
You mean Trudeau? Okay. So, and who says things like, "I'm the least anti-Semitic person that you've ever seen in your entire life"? Well, Jake is Jewish and knows a lot of Jewish people. I bet they're a little less anti-Semitic than you.
Weren't you listening? No, they're not.
And the least anti-Semitic person I've ever seen in my life didn't go into the Republican Jewish gathering that he did during the primaries and go, you guys know a thing or two about negotiating in this room.
Yeah.
Or renegotiating. Oh, Jesus, that is not what the least anti-Semitic person says. And the least anti-Semitic person did not put a Star of David next to Crooked Hillary that he actually borrowed from a white supremacist meme from 8chan that the alt-right also used. That's what you also did during the campaign. That's not what the least anti-Semitic person says. Yeah. Then now let's go back to what a child he is. He said yesterday, and that's when the same question was asked, we're going to do everything within our power to stop long-simmering racism and every other thing that's going on. We're going to stop every other thing that's going on. Okay, whatever that means.
Well, that makes it sound like he was really responding to the question. He was asked about the fact that there have been dozens and dozens of bomb threats against synagogues, and he immediately launched into a discussion about his electoral college margin, and then talked about his family members who are also Jewish.
Yeah, no, and that, by the way, that is fair. Say, hey, look, why don't you just answer the question in the simplest way possible? My daughter is Jewish. She converted to Judaism because she loves the religion, and my son-in-law is Jewish. My grandkids are Jewish. That's a great answer. Just say that.
I don't think it is a great answer, because then why didn't you talk about the synagogue that was shot up?
Yeah, and when
and the threat we're going to cover a little bit later on today, another threat against another. The fact that there are all these bombings, you can't say, oh, here are all the reasons I care a lot. That just makes it seem all the weirder that you're silent about these trends.
So, and he's purposely so. Yesterday, he wouldn't even say the word anti-Semitism. That's why he said racism and all the other things going on.
He won't say it.
He won't say it. He didn't say it he didn't mention Jews during the Holocaust Remembrance. Look, you might think that's a small thing, but
he didn't say it there, I don't think. He said the charge.
Yeah, and he at least said I'm the least anti-Semitic person, so he kind of mentioned the word, right? But hey, Donald, it's a serious issue because the number of anti-Semitic crimes, along with other hate crimes, have gone up significantly. That's why people are concerned about it. That's why they ask you the question. So instead of taking it personally and going talking about your electoral college win, and by the way, the reason he brought that up is because he said we have tremendous enthusiasm out there. In other words, I don't want to lower the enthusiasm of the right wing who are supporting me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why did you bring that up in the middle of a question about anti-Semitism? So then I'm not going to talk about it. And so the Anti-Defamation League CEO Jonathan Greenblatt said, "Look, when you don't acknowledge the things that are going on and decry it, some people might, even if you don't mean to, might misinterpret that as
tacit approval.
And even if it's not approval, that it's not a big issue, it's not a big deal, and you begin to normalize it." And he ended that statement by saying, intentional or not, this emboldens anti-Semites. So now, look, the only difference of Trump in this case is that he has incredibly low IQ. He's a child, so maybe he doesn't understand those concepts, like that. Hey, listen, I should decry this because it's a bad idea and it leads to people getting really, really hurt and these attacks against synagogues that are happening today. That his brain is so small that it might not be able to understand such a simple concept. But that's the only difference you can make, because the other interpretation is, I don't want to say anti-Semitism and I don't want to criticize it because I've got tremendous enthusiasm here for my voters, and that would depress their enthusiasm if they found out I'm not anti-Semitic.
Well, as a response to that the ADL put out a tweet saying, "Troubling that POTUS failed to condemn real issue of anti-Semitism in U.S. today." And we probably shouldn't gloss over the fact that it's one thing to say the things that he said, but look at how he treated the reporter who was trying, again, 2 days in a row now, people have tried to get a response on this. Please say that people shouldn't bomb synagogues or shoot them up. And he said, okay, sit down. You had your question, sit down. He shushed him, basically, and told him it's an unfair question. That's an insulting question. How dare you ask me about anti-Semitism? It's an insult that you would even bring that up. That is absurd that he treat anyone that way in response to any question, but especially when it's about acts of terror.
And Jake's from a Jewish magazine, and he asked the question, and I can understand being insulted by the question. I get that part. If somebody charges you with racism, bigotry, or anti-Semitism, you're going to get defensive. I understand that. So and by the way, he's not even saying you're anti-Semitic. He's just saying, can you acknowledge the anti-Semitism in the country and say, hey, don't do that? Such a layup, so easy. And we go, I'm the least anti-Semitic person. Now you from the Jew magazine, shush, sit down, right? Like, even if he doesn't mean it, it looks bad. Doesn't it look bad? Okay, no.
But his supporters are going to love it. He's shutting down the media, and look, that guy, probably Jewish, shut him down. Feels good to watch him shut those guys down.
He's not probably Jewish. He's definitely Jewish. I talked to him.
No, I was playing one of his supporters there.
Yeah.
And they don't know the magazine.
And by the way, you know what else that does? that goes to the heart of the ADL's concern here. It seems to tacitly acknowledge, hey, enough with that crap that you're always, bringing up this complaints about the anti-Semitism. Enough of that, okay? Even bringing up the issue is insulting. I'm moving on and shush already.
Yeah, and imagine, like, if you're a Trump supporter, just imagine if Obama had done this. If some reporter said, there's a lot of concerns about ISIS in America, and there's threats against public places. Shut up with the anti-ISIS. Yeah, it's insulting you ask me about ISIS. Shut up and sit down.
Are you kidding me? Imagine if he did it to a reporter like Jake.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I'm worried about anti-Semitism and, and yada, yada. And he's like, yeah, all right, sit down already. Could you imagine if Obama did that? Well, how Fox News would have reacted?
Yeah.
They asked him about anti-Semitism. He wouldn't answer the question. And if he said, I'm the least anti-Semitic person there is.
Jesus Christ.
There would have been no end to just that if Obama had ever said that. Corporate media is awesome.
Wrong.
Independent media is the way to go.
Believe me.
Support independent media right now. Become a Young Turks member. TYTnetwork.com/join.
Quando vê a CIA, ela bota no repeat, diz que é hit, não tira do ar da mão. You got something. Own it and smell great with new Axe U body wash. No batidão de
Kim Jong-un's half-brother was assassinated earlier this week in Malaysia, and now we have some more reports clarifying what occurred that day and who has gotten arrested as a result of potentially being suspects in this case. So, first of all, the person who got killed is Kim Jong-nam. There he is. He's the half-brother of Kim Jong-un, who's the dictator of North Korea. Now, apparently, 3 suspects, 2 women and a man, were picked up separately. The women were identified using closed-circuit TV footage, and it was at the airport where he was murdered. So he was 45 years old, and 45 or 46, and he suddenly fell ill Monday morning. He was being rushed to the hospital because he was feeling so sick, and he actually died on the way to the hospital. One of the women suspects had a Vietnamese travel document and was picked up at the budget terminal of the airport, the very place where the alleged attack took place. The other woman held an Indonesian passport and was arrested. At this moment, we don't know whether or not those passports were fraudulent or if they were really their passports. But that's what we know about them so far. After Kim Jong-il's death in 2011, Kim Jong-nam complained that Kim Jong-un, his half-brother, and the country's new leader was failing to treat him with respect and send him enough money. So he had been criticizing Kim Jong-un, and that put him at a lot of risk. And at some point he realized, he's going to try to kill me, and he's going to try to kill my family. And so later on, he pleaded with Kim Jong-un to spare his life and his family's life. But as we know now, it's widely suspected that Kim Jong-un basically ordered this assassination.
To be fair, it is an unsolved mystery. Another mystery is how he was killed. Yesterday we thought it was with poison needles, and that the women had come up to them, because, by the way, we didn't create that, that was in the news stories, that they had come up to him. This I did create. And it stuck him with poison needles, and it was like, as it turns out, no, it was some sort of spray that they put on it, sprayed in his face.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this with caution because it's still a little unclear. Some reports...
It's undetermined right now.
Undetermined. We do know that it's very likely that he was killed as a result of poison, but we don't know how the poison was administered. Was it administered through spraying his face, or was it administered through needles? So again, there are conflicting reports. The Associated Press is reporting that it was through a spray.
Yeah, so one version of that story is they sprayed it in his face. He's like, and then they put a rag over his face to make sure that it's soaked in. But no, that's a dangerous game to play. If you don't protect yourself properly, that could also, of course, get on you. And then now there are reports. There's a picture of the woman, one of the alleged assailants, and she has an LOL shirt on. And I heard secondhand now, that shirt is now selling like gangbusters online.
That's insane. Except not insane. The most usual outcome.
I know. Every part of this story seems unbelievable.
Yeah.
And unprecedented. But apparently it's true. And we know this for sure. Kim Jong-nam is gone. So he's definitely dead. Somebody definitely assassinated him. Although we don't know if they were laughing out loud when they did it.
Yeah. So when we originally covered this story, I noticed something. Because I was retelling the story last night. And I feel like we've become so desensitized to death that, we don't really understand the gravity of what happened, right? When I really stopped and thought about it, I'm like, oh my God, this guy was murdered, probably by his half-brother. That's insane.
You're very right about that. That's funny, Anna, because I was just thinking about that in other contexts. So much war and so much death in the news today including the cop shootings and all that stuff that in the old days it was a big deal to take somebody's life. Whereas now it feels like, oh, yeah, no big deal. And to be fair, even we joke around it. He has a weird context. Okay?
It's a very strange story, definitely.
Yeah, and it's so detached from us. But you're right that about the general trend, and the guy was a real person. Now, he's a character, and as with everything in North Korea, it's a super strange story. But he lost power when he was trying to sneak into Disneyland, pretending to be from Dominican Republic.
Yeah, he had a passport from the Dominican Republic.
Okay, that's all right. If you say so. But the other part of the story was also that he's going to be, you know how they say he leaves behind a wife and 3 kids, or in his case, he left behind 2 wives, a mistress, and several kids.
Yep.
Every part of the story is weirdly interesting.
It's a Lifetime movie. That's what it is.
It is. And so, but let's not forget the fact that he was a guy. He was a 45, 46-year-old guy, and he liked Disneyland like a lot of people like Disneyland. He just happened to be born into this insane family, and then he got assassinated, and they killed him out in the middle of everyone. So we certainly shouldn't get desensitized to that, because if that starts a trend, and we know that others have done, people have accused Putin of doing that to his opponents in other countries, including the UK, that is a very dangerous trend, let alone what happened to Kim Jong-nam. Support independent media and get the whole Young Turks 2-hour show and other network shows all ad-free. tytnetwork.com/join. Come join us today.
Recent reports indicate that Republicans are considering convincing Kid Rock, the rocker Kid Rock, is his name, so I guess you realize he's a rocker, to run for U.S. Senate in Michigan. All right, so Kid Rock apparently is a libertarian. He has some, issues where he is a little more open-minded, but for the most part, he has supported Republicans like Mitt Romney and Donald Trump. Roll Call, the newspaper of Capitol Hill, reports that Rock's name came up during discussions about the state's senatorial race at a convention of Michigan Republicans. If selected as a candidate, Rock, real name Robert Ritchie, would be running against the Democrat incumbent Debbie Stabenow in what is traditionally a safe Democrat seat.
Well, it used to be safe until Donald Trump won Michigan, so
right.
Not so safe anymore. So you think that they are joking around? They're not joking around. You think he can't win? I think he can win. And so now we're all obsessed with celebrities. Eventually, half of Congress is going to be wrestlers. And But you know what? That's unfair because the one wrestler we had in politics was Jesse Ventura, and he was actually smart and independent. He's much better than these guys. So, and now he's got his issues, and I agree and disagree with different things that he says. But these guys aren't even qualified. At least Jesse Ventura, whether you agree with him or not, is a very intelligent guy. These guys are like, oh, dude, I kind of like, yeah, I'm famous, man, and I was in a reality show or I rock out or something. Shouldn't I be in charge? And we're so obsessed with celebrity culture. I was going to say, like, it might get so crazy Kim Kardashian comes in, but actually Kim Kardashian's husband is threatening to run, Kanye West, in 2020. So it's not when Donald Trump, a 2-bit reality TV host, is the president of the United States, nothing is unthinkable. And then when you get into the substance of Kid Rock's opinions, I thought, oh my God, he might even win.
So let me give you what his opinions are. These are statements that he made a while ago. So he backed Mitt Romney in 2012, and then Trump in 2016, and sells Trump merchandise on his website. He was quoted as saying, "I'm digging Trump. I feel like a lot of people, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, feel like if you get Hillary or Bernie, or you get Rubio or Cruz or whoever, there's going to be the same shit." Has that much fucking changed when anyone's in office, whether it's been a Republican or Democrat in office, in our lifetime anyway? I haven't really seen this big, like, fucking change. Obviously, some people fucked up. That's a long debate. My feeling? Let the motherfucking business guy run it like a fucking business, and his campaign has been entertaining as shit. He sounds really qualified. I'm excited to see how this all goes down.
On the other hand, there's a lot of truth in what he said there.
Except for the part where you wouldn't get much change with someone like Bernie.
That's right. That is totally wrong. That he was wrong. But he captured in a lot of ways what those Rust Belt voters felt, which is, I vote Democrat, I vote Republican, I get the same old shit, and I'm tired of it. This Donald Trump guy might be crazy, but you know he's going to change things, right? I mean, he changes his position every sentence. So, I mean, there's change coming one way or another. So they were so frustrated with the system, so frustrated with the fake politicians, like Kid Rock. They're like, I don't know, man, let's try the business guy. They don't know that he's a business failure, that he had 6 bankruptcies, that all he did was take his dad's money. Hillary Clinton never told him that because she ran a miserable campaign. So they don't know what kind of a failure, incompetent loser he is. They just think, I need change, let's try the business guy because he doesn't seem as fake as other guys, and plus I'm kind of entertained by him.
Yeah, I think anything's possible, and there is definitely a possibility that someone like Kid Rock could get elected as a senator in the United States. That's just the world that we're living in, and I don't know how I feel about it. To be quite honest with you, reading about his politics, I disagree with him, but does it necessarily mean that he would be unqualified to run for Senate? No, I don't know everything about him, so who knows? Let me give you some more, though.
Yeah, this the next quote, makes me think that not only has he accurately assessed the mood of the country in his own particular vernacular, but that he might win.
So he also says, I'm definitely a Republican on fiscal issues and the military, but I lean to the middle on social issues. I'm no fan of abortion, but it's not up to a man to tell a woman what to do. I respect that. As an ordained minister, I don't look forward to marrying gay people, but I'm not opposed to it.
So there's a million things I disagree with in there, but that's not so far out of the Michigan mainstream. So it seems kind of where a political sweet spot where you can win, where you're like, look, man, I hate abortion. People go, yeah, but I'm not going to tell a woman what to do. And the women are like, oh, good, right? It's like you just did, right? And he's like, I'm an ordained minister. Yeah, okay. And gay folks, I don't know that I want to marry them, right? But I don't hate them. And that could work. And fiscal issues, a lot of people think they're Republican. And the reality is the Republican Party is a mess. They never balance the budget. It's all a marketing gimmick. But being conservative fiscally is a winning political strategy. Mm-hmm. This platform is not that crazy.
Actually, let me make a devastating point. What he said there about abortion is very similar to the views held by Tim Kaine. Mm-hmm. Not in favor of abortion, but won't tell women that they can't have that.
And you know, by the way, you know what that position is? It's called pro-choice.
Yeah.
Which is, I choose not to have abortions or have the women that I've been with have abortions if we make that decision together. But it is up to the woman to choose. That is, pro-choice doesn't mean you're pro-abortion. It means the woman gets to choose. Mm-hmm. So, but he frames it in a way that is not offensive to conservatives. So Senator Rock, Brace for Impact. You can help hire investigative reporters that'll chase down stories no one else will. Be the media. TYTnetwork.com/go.
The NFL has decided to get a little political and comment on legislation in Texas that they deem to be discriminatory. Now, much like North Carolina, Texas is pushing for an anti-LGBT bill that would essentially force transgender people to use the bathroom that identifies with the gender that they were born with. Well, apparently some of the NFL aren't too happy about it, and they're casually threatening the state of Texas with pulling future sports events from the state. So, a spokesperson from the NFL writes, if a proposal that is discriminatory or inconsistent with our values were to become law there, that would certainly be a factor considered when thinking about awarding future events. Now, the governor is not too happy with that, and I'll give you his statement in just a second, but Cenk, you're a big fan of the NFL. I hear that you were a star, and not an NFL player, but a star football player at some point.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
So, honorable mention, Old County, Middlesex County, New Jersey, not a big deal.
Definitely not a big deal.
Literally, in this case. No, seriously, I love that the NFL is doing this. Why? You can say, hey, don't get involved in politics, and that's fair in that they don't necessarily have to have a position on every political issue. I'm not interested in their pro-life or pro-choice views or what they think the top marginal tax rate should be. So that would be weirdly political and in the weeds. But they're taking an issue on this like it's a civil rights issue because it is. So this is the equivalent of saying back in the day, we will not segregate our teams and we will allow blacks to play with white players. Now we look at that and celebrate it, but don't forget that was an incredibly controversial position at the time. And there were a lot of governors, like Governor Abbott, saying it's outrageous letting the black players play with the white players and giving them the same rights. It's an outrage. But people like Ricky Branch, who ran the Dodgers, took a bold stance and decided to do that. And history has judged them to be heroes for that. So when the NFL does this and says, no, we're all equal as American citizens and we should all have the equal rights, I think history will look upon them very favorably. On the other hand, the people who fought against it, like Governor Abbott, I don't think history will be as kind to.
So Governor Greg Abbott did respond to this, and he did so pretty aggressively on Glenn Beck's show. He said the NFL needs to concentrate on playing football and get the heck out of politics. For some low-level NFL advisor to come out and say that they're going to micromanage and try to dictate the state of Texas, what type of policies we're going to pass in our state, that's unacceptable. He continues to say, we don't care what the NFL thinks, and certainly what their political policies are, because they are not a political arm of the state of Texas or the United States of America. They need to learn their place in the United States, which is to govern football, not politics. Okay, I'm going to stop for a second. I'm so tired of people telling individuals that they disagree with that they should stay out of politics. No, these are Americans. I don't care what they do for a profession. If they feel a moral obligation or if they're compelled in any way to comment on politics, they have every right to comment on politics. Just because you don't like their statements doesn't mean you get to tell them to shut up and play football, right?
So Abbott thinks that, hey, I got a lot of conservatives on my side here, so the NFL thinks they're going to push us around. Now I'm going to push them around, and I'll try to intimidate them. But he goes further than what Anna said. This is a private business. You can't tell them where they can and cannot conduct their business. That's not them butting into your business. That's you butting into their business. Literally. So they're not saying, hey, Texas, I'm going to tell you how to legislate. They're saying you do whatever decision you like, but I don't have to put my business there. I don't have to frequent your state. So I'm not going to take the Dallas Cowboys out of Dallas or the Texans out of Houston or anything along those lines, but I don't have to put the Super Bowl in Texas. In fact, Texas has gotten more Super Bowls than almost any other state, with the exception of Florida, in a long period of time. And so we don't have to make that choice. We can put it anywhere we like. So are you getting into my business and telling me where I can and can't have the Super Bowl? Are you telling me that I have to discriminate against other Americans like you are? no, I believe in the free market and capitalism, so why don't you stay the hell out of my business?
Yeah, so, look, I want to add a little more to what I think is a growing issue regarding political speech, right? There's all sorts of political speech coming out of public figures that I despise. I'll criticize it, but I'll never tell them, nah, don't talk about politics anymore. Know your role. No, you're an American. You can say whatever you like. You can share your opinions. You can make decisions about your business depending on your politics. This is a country that's supposed to value various ideas, and even if you don't like those ideas, you have to in some way tolerate them. You don't try to ban them from speaking, right? And so you do see that on college campuses, right? And I'm against that 100%. But it is interesting because while this story is happening today and people are covering it, there's another story regarding how Republicans in Congress are trying to convince Kid Rock, yeah, that Kid Rock, the rocker guy, to run for U.S. Senate. Okay, but what happened? I thought celebrities shouldn't be involved in politics. But if it's a celebrity who's saying things that you like, well, all of a sudden you should run for the Senate. Totally qualified to run for the Senate. Well, it's just interesting.
Well, it goes even deeper than that. They're like, how dare Susan Sarandon say something about Dapple or Rosario Dawson or Shailene Woodley speak out, and the list goes on and on. Liberal Hollywood. Dude, your president is a celebrity. Donald Trump is a reality show host. And your other Republican demigod was Ronald Reagan, an actor, another celebrity. Corporate media is awesome.
Wrong.
Independent media is the way to go.
Believe me.
Support independent media right now. Become a Young Turks member. tytnetwork.com/join.
A pizza family never cuts corners. We only cut prices. Get a 2-topping pan or large pizza from Papa John's, just $9.99. That's a 2-topping pan or large pizza, only $9.99. We're more than a pizza company. We're a pizza family. Papa John's.
Several retailers have made the decision to drop Ivanka Trump's brand from their stores, and they like to mention that it was due to lagging sales. Now, that could be the case with some of these retailers, but we just got an interesting internal memo from Overstock.com indicating that the CEO is currently thinking about also dropping Ivanka Trump's brand. Now, the anonymous source sent us an internal memo. I'm going to read it to you in its entirety, and then we'll discuss. So it reads, Dear team, when Donald Trump announced his candidacy, he did so making comments about Mexican immigrants and criminality. While I believe it is a legitimate issue for political discussion, in my view, it violated a social compact that has been in place since about 1970. The social compact holds that politicians should bend over backwards not to race bait, not to try to win political support by tickling racist sentiments in the population. Trump stated that when Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're sending people that have lots of problems. They're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. In my view, this statement fails that social compact. The same point could have been made in a sober fashion that offended no one outside of a college campus, where some people seem to be getting 4-year degrees in how to be offended. Shortly thereafter, Trump made disrespectful comments about John McCain's service. At that point, I instructed that all of Donald Trump's products should be taken down from our site. They were taken down about 18 months ago. I did not instruct Ivanka Trump's products to be taken down on the grounds that it seemed inappropriate and un-American for me to go after the guy's daughter for things Donald had said. As I am sure you have heard, there is now a national movement to get retailers to kill products from both Donald and Ivanka. There are 3 ways we could handle it, and then he lists the 3 options for his employees. Number 1, keep Donald's off and pull Ivanka's off. Keep Donald's off and keep Ivanka's on, that's the status quo. And 3, put Donald's back up and leave Ivanka up. Which should we do? Please let me know by Thursday, February 16th, which is today, by 2 p.m. And then he includes a link to where people can vote on what to do.
So it's signed Patrick, and the CEO of Overstock.com is Patrick Byrne. So this is a very interesting story because Patrick Byrne is well known as a libertarian. I've interviewed him on the show before. You can't pigeonhole his politics. He's a very interesting guy. He's very much worried about government power, but obviously has good moral principles that he cares about, and he reflects that in his company. Now, I think that's a great thing. Some people might disagree. And so this is not a leak against him. It's just an interesting issue that a lot of different companies are grappling with.
Yep.
And the second thing that I like that he did is he's asking his employees. That's not such a bad thing for a boss to do.
Actually, reading this made me think of him as a pretty admirable CEO because he cares about what his employees feel, what they think. The employees, in some way, are represented by the company that they work for. I think the company you work for could say things about you. And so I like the fact that he's kind of opening it up in a very democratic way to allow them to voice their opinions. But I do also find it interesting to see what the internal workings are, because we don't really know the real decision why other retailers decided to pull the brand. They do state that there were lagging sales, and that could be true for some of the retailers. In this case, it's clear that it's more of a moral issue, and I think that's interesting.
Okay, we'll add a fun layer to this. Since Patrick Byrne wanted to poll his employees, let's poll our audience. Of those three options, which one should Overstock.com do? So we'll have where you can vote on the poll in the description box of the video that this is in, or in the comment section. So check that out when we put this up online. And you can tell how nuanced his political opinions are, because he doesn't like the guys who are too easily offended on college campus. On the other hand, he says there are things you actually should be offended by when you attack whole groups of races and ethnicities in America. And that is, principled conservatives or libertarians could still have that position, and it's heartening to see that they do. So I'm curious to see what Overstock.com is going to do in that regard. And I don't think it's an easy answer, by the way. And so I don't have a instinctive knee-jerk reaction to say, pull all their products. I think it's a hard issue for all those retailers, and so we'll have to see how that comes out and how the country handles it, and also what you guys think about it. So let's all find out together. TYT Nation is everywhere. Podcast The Young Turks anytime you want. TYTnetwork.com/join.
I think it's weird.
No, it's not weird. In fact, you'll think,
I'm like a smart person.
do it now. TYTnetwork.com/join.